Obviously, I like to listen to my old radios quite a lot.
Take extra care and don't go too fast.
John Leach.
BBC Radio Cambridgeshire.
And did I say use your indicators?
But I don't only have old radios, I have newer stuff as well. A lot of my listening is done on this device, which is a relatively recent Roberts digital radio. And I was therefore a bit disappointed to hear this the other day.
Thanks for listening to Absolute Radio. We've changed the way you listen to this radio station, and this service will stop in the next couple of days. So you'll need to change how you hear Absolute Radio.
Well, this, as they say, was absolutely news to me. And I couldn't find much about it on the internet, but I did have a sort of Google around and found this thing here, where it tells us exactly what they're doing, which is taking away the ability to listen to their stuff independently and only allowing it to be listened to through their platforms. Now, when we get to a rather hidden part of their website, we find out that indeed they are going to do this, and they're saying that they're doing this because they care about our data. So in what way do they care about our data? Well, it appears that if they go through third parties, they can't harvest our data. Oh, sorry, they're putting a barrier between them and our data. Now, okay, I'm prepared to admit that my data isn't particularly valuable, really. Do they really need to know that I turn off every time I hear Frank Skinner's whiny voice, which reminds me how bad the 1990s were? It obviously doesn't have any effect on their programming because he's still on there and he's still apparently popular. But it does inconvenience me that I can't use the equipment I purchased to listen to their programs anymore. And now, apparently we have to use their app or their website to listen to their programs. Now, imagine if back in the 1920s or 30s, when people had invented radio, you needed a separate radio for each radio station. Now, of course, that's not a massive problem for me because I have quite a lot of radios, so I could tune into quite a lot of radio stations. But it does annoy me that we are now switching stuff off that isn't really very old technology. This radio here was made 60 years ago. It's older than I am, and it can still receive programs that were made or being transmitted in exactly the same way as they were 60 years ago.
I used to have, I couldn't believe that people couldn't do that. We had one girl there who was chopping flour. She goes, my mum told me that it would make it lighter. Right.
Whereas it looks like this radio that was made only 10 years ago is going to be obsolete this year. Now we'll leave aside the fact that the BBC, along with their partners in crime at Arqiva, are angling to switch off that service we just listened to as well. And let's not pretend that this is just a matter of a rapacious commercial service trying to minimise its costs and maximise its revenue. The BBC themselves did this in 2019. And what was their reasoning behind it? Oh, yes, TuneIn wouldn't give us access to your data. No, I'm not a Luddite. I have Hue, I have Alexa, I have Hive. I understand that I couldn't make these videos were it not for the technology we have nowadays. But that's not the point. I don't think that lizards are going to arrest me by looking at my Spotify listening history and finding out that I listen to a lot of 1950s and 60s modern jazz. Although I suspect some members of my family might wish they did. It's just that the algorithms aren't really that good. Discover Weekly just plays back to me the stuff that I already listen to. You get more discovery from listening to Essential Classics or Jazz Record Requests on Radio 3 than you ever get from this sort of pound shop AI on Spotify. Now, I'm ignoring the fact that things like Absolute Radio and all the other Bauer Group stations are still available on DAB, although at somewhat poor quality. And DAB itself is a technology that was foisted on us by people who really didn't know what they were doing. I'd love to conclude with a bold call to action of what we're going to do about these travesties, but unfortunately I think we're just going to have to put up with them. There are bigger problems in the world to solve, it's true to say. And I'm diverting from the fact that we had a lovely day out for my wife's birthday and I haven't made any progress this weekend on the projects that are supposed to be the core of this channel. So apologise for the 5 minutes of your life that you're never going to get back, and we'll be back to some more productive stuff maybe next week.